The night that changed Lily's life forever began like any other working day, quiet and heavy with routine. Lily had been working as a maid in Grace's large house for almost a year. The house stood in a rich neighborhood, with tall gates, bright lights, and clean white walls that always smelled of polish. To outsiders, it looked like a place of comfort and safety. But for Lily, it was only a place of work, not a home. She arrived early every morning, cleaned until her hands ached, and followed every rule without complaint. Grace, her employer, was a well-known businesswoman who believed strongly in discipline, image, and control. She paid Lily on time, but she never asked about her life, and Lily never dared to speak unless spoken to. What Grace did not know was that Lily had nowhere to go after her work ended. Lily's parents had died in an accident years ago, and since then, her life had slowly fallen apart. Relatives refused to help her, and the small room she once rented was taken away when she could no longer pay. When Lily found work at Grace's house, she believed her life would finally become stable. But the job came with a clear rule: maids were not allowed to stay inside the house at night. Grace was very strict about this. She cared deeply about what neighbors thought and feared gossip more than anything else. With no money and no shelter, Lily made a painful choice. Every night, after finishing her duties and making sure everything was perfect, she quietly stepped out through the back door and slept outside near the gate. She hid herself behind a small wall, using an old shawl and a thin mat she carried in her bag. Some nights were cold, some nights were rainy, and some nights were so lonely that Lily cried silently so no one would hear her. Still, she returned every morning with a calm face, washed her hands, and worked as if nothing was wrong. She believed that if she worked harder and stayed quiet, life might show her mercy. For months, no one noticed. Grace never walked near the back gate at night, and Lily made sure to leave no trace of herself. But fate has a way of revealing truth when you least expect it. One evening, Grace came home early from a business trip. She noticed something strange near the gate: a folded shawl and a small bag hidden behind the wall. Curious and annoyed, she asked the security guard about it. The guard hesitated and finally told her the truth. He said that Lily slept outside every night because she had no home. Grace felt shock first, then anger. Not because Lily was suffering, but because Grace felt embarrassed and disturbed by the idea. In her mind, this situation was unacceptable. She imagined neighbors talking, her reputation being damaged, and her house being connected to poverty. That night, Grace waited silently inside until Lily finished her work and came out to leave. As Lily reached the door, Grace called her name sharply. "Lily, stop right there," Grace said, her voice cold and firm. Lily froze. Her heart started beating fast. She turned around slowly, already feeling fear in her chest. Grace looked at her with disappointment and anger, not sympathy. "Is it true that you sleep outside my house at night?" Grace asked. Lily's eyes filled with tears. She lowered her head and nodded. In a soft voice, she tried to explain her situation, her loss, and her struggle, but Grace raised her hand to stop her. "I don't want excuses," Grace said harshly. "This is unacceptable. My house is not a shelter. People will talk if they find out. I cannot allow this." Lily begged quietly. She said she never caused trouble, never asked for anything extra, and only wanted to keep her job. She promised to find another place soon. But Grace had already made her decision. "You are fired," Grace said. "Leave tonight. Don't come back." Those words hit Lily harder than any slap could. Fired meant more than losing a job, it meant losing the only place where she felt slightly safe. Grace walked away without another word. The guard was told to lock the gate once Lily left. Lily packed her small bag with shaking hands. As she stepped outside, the gate closed behind her with a loud sound that echoed in the quiet night. She stood there for a moment, staring at the house she had cleaned with so much care, now completely closed to her. Tears rolled down her face as she walked away into the dark street, carrying nothing but pain and uncertainty. That night, Lily understood how cruel real life could be. The employer kicked out the maid who slept outside at night was no longer just a sentence, it was her reality. She did not know where she would sleep or what would happen next. All she knew was that she had been thrown out, not because she was lazy or dishonest, but because she was poor. And as she disappeared into the silent city, no one could imagine that this broken night was the beginning of a story that would later change her fate forever. After Lily walked away from Grace's house, the city felt colder and larger than ever before. The streets were still awake, filled with moving cars, bright lights, and people rushing to places where they belonged, but Lily felt like she belonged nowhere. She walked without direction, her small bag hanging from her shoulder, her feet hurting with every step. The sound of the gate closing behind her kept repeating in her mind, reminding her that she was truly alone now. She tried to stay strong, but fear slowly wrapped around her heart. For the first time, she had no job to return to in the morning, no routine to protect her from her thoughts, and no safe corner to rest her tired body. As the night grew deeper, Lily reached a public park. The benches were cold and slightly wet from evening mist, but she sat down anyway because she had no other choice. She wrapped her shawl tightly around herself and hugged her knees, trying to keep warm. Around her, a few homeless people slept silently, each carrying their own unseen pain. Lily had never imagined she would be one of them. She thought about her parents, about the simple life they once had, and how everything had changed so quickly after they were gone. Tears ran down her face, not loudly, but quietly, as if she was afraid even her sorrow might disturb the world. Hours passed slowly. Hunger began to twist her stomach, but she ignored it. What hurt more was the feeling of being unwanted. She had worked honestly, followed every rule, and never asked for help, yet she was still thrown away like something useless. Lily wondered how many people in the city lived like her, unseen and unheard, and how easily others turned their faces away. She realized that kindness was rare, and fear ruled many hearts. Grace had not been cruel because of anger alone, but because she cared more about her image than another human being's life. Just before morning, when the sky started to change color, Lily noticed a small tea stall near the road. The woman running it was middle-aged, with tired eyes but a gentle face. Her name was Ava. She saw Lily sitting alone on the bench, looking weak and lost, and something in Lily's expression touched her heart. Ava walked over and offered her a cup of hot tea without asking too many questions. The warmth of the tea spread through Lily's hands and into her chest, and for a moment, she felt human again. Ava listened as Lily slowly shared her story, from losing her parents to being fired and locked out without mercy. Ava did not interrupt or judge. She simply listened, nodding softly, understanding the pain in Lily's words. Ava told Lily that life was unfair to those who had no power, but that did not mean it would always remain cruel. She encouraged Lily not to lose hope and offered her small cleaning jobs at nearby shops in exchange for food and a little money. It was not much, but it was enough to survive. Over the next few days, Lily worked wherever she could. She cleaned dusty shelves, washed dirty plates, and swept floors from morning to night. She slept on benches, in waiting areas, and sometimes under shop roofs when it rained. Each day was hard, but Lily refused to give up. She remembered the night she was thrown out and promised herself she would not let that moment destroy her completely. One evening, Ava told Lily about a one-night cleaning job at a private restaurant known for hosting powerful and dangerous people. Lily felt nervous but accepted the work because she needed the money. She did not know it yet, but this simple decision, made out of desperation, was slowly guiding her toward a future she could never have imagined. As she prepared herself for that night, Lily carried both fear and hope in her heart, unaware that her suffering was about to meet an unexpected turning point. The private restaurant stood far from the noisy streets, hidden behind tall glass walls and guarded doors that only opened for people with power and influence. When Lily arrived that evening, she felt small and out of place, her simple clothes standing in sharp contrast to the expensive cars parked outside. Her heart was beating fast, not only from nervousness but also from the fear that she might make a mistake and lose this chance to earn some money. The manager gave her quick instructions and reminded her to stay quiet, finish her work, and not look at the guests directly. Lily nodded obediently, as she always did, and began cleaning the empty tables, wiping each surface carefully as if her future depended on it. As the night went on, the atmosphere inside the restaurant slowly changed. Soft music filled the air, lights became dimmer, and a group of men entered with calm confidence. They spoke in low voices, and their presence made the room feel heavy and serious. Lily could sense that these were not ordinary customers. Among them was one man who stood out without trying. He was dressed simply but elegantly. His movements controlled and his expression calm. Others listened when he spoke, and even the manager showed him great respect. This man was known to many as a mafia boss, someone who ruled the city's hidden world with silent authority. Lily did not know his name or his power, but she felt his presence like a quiet storm. While cleaning near their table, Lily's hands trembled slightly from exhaustion. She had not rested properly in days, and her body was finally giving up. As she stepped back to move a chair, her foot slipped on the smooth floor. In that moment, she felt herself losing balance, her bag falling from her shoulder. Before she could hit the ground, a strong hand caught her arm. Time seemed to stop for Lily as she looked up and met the eyes of the man who had saved her. The mafia boss looked at her with concern, not anger or annoyance. "Be careful," he said in a calm, steady voice. Lily quickly apologized, her face turning red with embarrassment. She thanked him softly and moved away, her heart racing. That brief moment, however, stayed with the mafia boss. He noticed how thin Lily looked, how tired her eyes were, and how carefully she returned to her work without complaint. There was something honest and broken about her that caught his attention. He had seen many people in his life, liars, criminals, and greedy souls, but Lily was different. She did not ask for help or sympathy. She simply worked, carrying her pain quietly. Later that night, after the group finished their meeting, the mafia boss asked the manager about Lily. He learned that she was only a temporary cleaner, hired for one night. This information surprised him. Before leaving, he walked over to Lily and handed her some money, far more than what she was supposed to earn. "This is for your hard work," he said gently. Lily tried to refuse, thinking it was a mistake, but he insisted. She thanked him again, her voice shaking with emotion. That night, as Lily walked away from the restaurant, holding the money tightly in her hand, she felt something she had not felt in a long time: hope. She did not know who the man really was or why he showed kindness, but she knew that this meeting was not ordinary. In the quiet streets under the city lights, Lily sensed that her painful journey was slowly turning toward a new direction, guided by a meeting that felt less like chance and more like destiny. The morning after that night felt different to Lily, even though the city around her remained the same. For the first time in many days, she woke up without the sharp fear of hunger and helplessness pressing on her chest. The money the mafia boss had given her allowed her to eat properly and rest in a small shared room for a night. But more than the money, it was his calm voice and respectful manner that stayed in her thoughts. She kept asking herself why a powerful stranger would notice someone like her, yet she did not allow herself to build false dreams. Life had taught her to expect nothing and work for everything. A few days later, Lily was surprised when a black car stopped near Ava's tea stall. At first, she thought it was there for someone else, but when the driver called her name, her heart skipped a beat. She was taken to a large office building owned by the same man she had met at the restaurant. This time, she learned more about him. He was not just a rich businessman, but a mafia boss whose name was spoken carefully in the city. People feared him, but they also respected him. Lily felt nervous walking into that world, but she was treated with unexpected dignity. No one shouted at her, and no one looked down on her. The mafia boss offered Lily a proper job, with regular hours, fair pay, and a safe place to stay. He made it clear that she would be respected as a person, not treated like an object. Lily could hardly believe it. She accepted the job with gratitude, promising to work honestly as she always had. Over time, she learned that beneath his powerful image, the Mafia boss carried his own loneliness and wounds. He spoke little about his past, but Lily could sense that his life had been shaped by loss, betrayal, and hard choices. Their conversations were simple but meaningful, often about life, struggle, and the value of trust. As weeks turned into months, Lily slowly regained her confidence. She dressed better, stood straighter, and spoke with more belief in her own worth. Ava visited her often and smiled with pride, happy to see Lily's transformation. Even Grace, Lily's former employer, heard about Lily's new position through whispers in the city. When she realized who Lily now worked for, a deep feeling of regret settled in her heart. She remembered the night she had chosen reputation over humanity, and for the first time, she understood the cost of that decision. Meanwhile, the bond between Lily and the Mafia boss grew stronger. It was not built on fear or power, but on understanding and respect. He admired Lily's strength and kindness, while she saw the man behind the title. Life had opened a new door for Lily, leading her into a world she once feared, but this time, she walked forward not as a helpless maid, but as a woman who had survived and risen through hardship. Time moved quietly, and with each passing day, Lily's life became more stable and meaningful. The fear that once followed her every step slowly faded, replaced by a sense of safety she had never known before. Working under the Mafia boss, Lily was no longer invisible. Her opinions were heard, her efforts were appreciated, and her presence was valued. She continued to live simply, never forgetting the nights she had slept outside, cold and unwanted. Those memories did not fill her with bitterness, but with understanding for others who were still struggling in silence. She began helping quietly whenever she could, offering food, small jobs, or kind words to people who reminded her of her former self. The relationship between Lily and the Mafia boss deepened naturally, without pressure or force. He admired her honesty and strength, qualities he rarely saw in his world. Lily, in return, saw beyond his reputation and power. She saw a man who had built walls around his heart to survive, a man who carried loneliness despite his authority. They spoke often about life, about choices, and about how one moment could change everything. Lily told him about the night she was thrown out and how it made her feel worthless. He listened quietly, his expression serious, and in that moment, he understood her pain more deeply than ever before. One evening, away from noise and power, the Mafia boss made a simple and sincere promise to Lily. He told her that he did not care about her past or where she came from, only about who she was and who she had become. His words were not dramatic, but they were honest, and they touched Lily's heart. When he asked her to marry him, there were no grand gestures, only truth and respect. Lily's tears that night were not of sorrow, but of healing. She said yes, not because of wealth or security, but because she felt seen and valued as a human being. Their wedding was small and quiet, attended by only a few people who truly mattered. Ava was there, smiling proudly, knowing she had witnessed a life change from the very beginning. Even Grace attended, standing quietly in the background, watching the woman she once dismissed now standing with confidence and dignity. Grace felt the weight of her past actions and understood that kindness, once refused, could never be taken back. Lily noticed her but held no anger. Life had already taught her enough lessons about forgiveness. The employer kicked out the maid who slept outside at night. She later met Mafia boss who married her became more than a painful memory. It became a story of survival, strength, and the power of unexpected kindness. Lily's journey showed that real life does not always change through miracles, but through moments where humanity chooses to act. What began as rejection ended as a life built on respect, proving that even the darkest nights can lead to a brighter morning when hope is not lost.